Welcome back. The fate of TikTok in the air as the Chinese-owned app scrambles to find a U.S. buyer after President Trump delayed the ban on TikTok for 75 days. Employer.com CEO and founder Jesse Tinsley is leading a group of investors, including YouTube creator Mr. Beast, who are putting together a formal all-cash bid of more than $20 billion to acquire TikTok's U.S. operations and assets from Chinese company ByteDance. Joining me now is the man himself, Jesse Tinsley. Jesse, thanks very much for being here. A lot of investors want this. Why is your bid superior? Why do you want to buy TikTok?
Maria, thanks for having me on. First off, I appreciate it. To dive into my bid and our bid, we're excited about a few different things, and why I'm excited to personally go after this is a few things. The first thing is freedom of speech. I think, generally speaking, social media is the open platform for everyone to have a voice these days, and I think it shouldn't be limited to just one side or the other. And I think that the second part is we really need to have all the data and all of the information from TikTok in the U.S. stored in the U.S. And right now, that's obviously not the case. And so I think American control, whether that's us or another party, I think that's paramount above all else. And I think that's why it passed in Congress, pretty much a nonpartisan issue. And then lastly, I think most importantly, why our bid is very much aligned with President Trump, his administration, and we'd be honored to basically be the first investment of the sovereign wealth fund in the U.S. that he's obviously mentioned starting here in the next year.
So, I mean, the president said he wants the bidding war for TikTok to happen because there are a lot of technology giants who want in. Amazon, Microsoft, Oracle, all reportedly showing interest in its U.S. operations, Jesse. So how do you plan to compete with those big tech companies? And can you ensure that the Chinese Communist Party will not be looking at user data?
Yeah, well, the first thing is we welcome the competition. Obviously, it's a great asset and a great company that's been built. I think the first thing is obviously there's be a lot of competition there. Our bid, we have Mr. Beast and others backing us, as well as Brad Bondi and Paul Hastings. Obviously took Truth Social public last year, and other great backers among like some of the top family offices in the U.S., private equity firms, and sovereign wealth funds, and then hopefully, obviously, U.S. sovereign wealth fund as well. So we feel really confident in our bid, and obviously welcome the competition. And secondly, I think we've already put together, in terms of your second part of your question, in terms of getting user data back in the U.S., we've put together a bunch of different subcommittees that will be leading those audits and doing a full audit that we fully plan to basically release to the American public at some point in time, obviously, if we were selected, and make sure that data is 100% back in the U.S. And we've already have some of those partners lined up for key technology partners, along with key folks that will be actually auditing and making sure that all of those servers and user data is back in the U.S.
I mean, do we know that China is going to give it up? Will China agree to sell it?
I think that's obviously something that's out of our hands. We've obviously put together a very, very strong offer, and to get some more details there. And the first I've talked about it publicly, we've made an offer that's north of $30 billion in cash, and so I think it would be a very, very strong economic gain. And I think that President Trump's support is that this is a very good opportunity for ByteDance to make a lot of money and capitalize their business outside the U.S. very, very strategically, a large amount of cash, and it could be a win for all parties involved. So we feel really strongly about that. Obviously, we can't force ByteDance to accept an offer, but I feel strongly aligned with President Trump and his administration and the efforts they put in there.
Tell me what they do in terms of why this is such a national security concern.
Yeah, it's a fantastic question. Obviously, there's better experts on this topic than myself. I think that the first thing is that you can compare it to the television, right? Like TikTok it essentially should be a platform for all, whether that be Fox News or CNN or whoever. And right now, obviously, it's not in the hands of the U.S., and so it could be whatever news channel you want it to be, essentially, right? And not saying that it has happened or hasn't happened, but that's essentially the risk you run by having it outside the U.S.
Yeah, I mean, I just wonder if people understand the national security issues. TikTok is trying to say that it's going to ease the data security concerns by publishing a new overview, claiming that it takes national security concerns seriously and it continues to take proactive steps to ensure user data is protected. Jesse, do you believe this?
I have no doubt they're probably going through every step possible to do that. I think that it's something I've thought about a lot, Maria. That's a fantastic question. The problem is I liken it to, for lack of better terms, an analogy is that if even 1% of the data is in Chinese servers, it is enough to identify each individual user by itself. And so it's basically all or nothing. It has to be 100% out of like ByteDance's hands, or basically it's all or nothing, essentially, for lack of better terms.
Mm-hmm. And when will you know?
There's no amount of precaution.
What are you thinking in terms of your timing here? You know, J.D. Vance and Michael Waltz are running this. President Trump has put VP Vance and National Security Counsel Michael Waltz in charge of this potential TikTok sale and divestiture. So I want to get your take on what that means, because if you've got an American buyer formally on board, I guess it's easier for Vance and Waltz to persuade Congress to act. Your thoughts?
Yeah, we've been big supporters of President Trump and his administration, and Vice President Vance. Obviously, has a very strong background in technology, and I think has probably a very strong grasp on this, better than most. And I think we're excited to work with him and his team to try to get this to be a winning bid for not only just for us, but all Americans. And I think we've got a true, I think you mentioned some of the larger players in this bid earlier, but we really have a consortium of some of the best technologists and influencers and folks in the United States. And this can be a huge win for the American people. And for, quite frankly, for President Trump and his administration coming into the first quarter of their term. I think it could be a really big win for the American people and everyone across the nation, having a safe platform for Gen Z and the rest of the Americans that use the TikTok on a daily basis.
We've got to see Congress pass an extension legislation in the next 2 months, and we'll see what that means for a potential U.S. buyer. Jesse, we'll be watching. Thanks very much for joining us.